First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. I'd like to thank the hundreds of police officers, widows, current officers, retired officers, and everyone who has reached out to me and who I have given my word I will not say your name for fear of the police retaliating. I commend all the officers who go out there day after day doing your duties despite having a mayor who does everything in his power to stop you. I understand this is not the job it once was. There's no respect for Mayor de Blasio, yet the NYPD officers still try to do their best. Mayor de Blasio, you keep going on and on about stats and crimes. Well, my brother is now a statistic from your legacy. And as I've emailed and reached out to Commissioner O'Neill on several occasions, not to hear back from him. I didn't expect to. One important note, and I hope that this hits home, I was told by the PBA president that now all health benefits, including mental health benefits, are being cut by the city for our men in blue. Again, all health benefits, including mental health benefits, are being cut while the city is in crisis. I know this is yesterday's news to many people, but to the hundreds of officers and widows that reached out to me, this is our reality. I will fight for change with everything I have within the department. I just left a brief meeting with the Deputy Commissioner of Employee Relations and the Commissioner of Family Relations. I had hoped the meeting would have gone better. I had hoped they would have come out and spoke. They did not. Briefly in the meeting, I discussed that phone number that Mayor de Blasio decided to put up there that we all know no one is going to call for fear of their job. I have asked that perhaps, rather than having officers self-surrender, that we have mental health experts in each precinct, just as you and I go once a year for a physical, that perhaps officers should be called in 3 times a year. Let's see how you're doing. Last week you were spit on at the job. You okay with that? Several officers have reached out to me and said the job has ruined their marriage. Absolutely can see that. As long as telling me, as several officers have told me that, one even said to me, I asked for a day off, but because I didn't reach the quotas, they wouldn't give it to me for my nephew's christening. And I said, and how did that make you feel? He said, well, I was angry, but when the commissioner, and you're going to have to bleep this out, when, not the commissioner, I'm sorry, when the chief, the captain in his unit said, and you're going to have to bleep this out, well, your mother didn't blow the chief, so I guess you're not getting the day off. And that's the kind of attitude that is held from the top brass, not the blue shirts, the white shirts. I have hundreds of people that have reached out to me. My heart breaks. I'm going to read a brief letter from a widow of an officer who killed himself. Yeah. And I'm also going to discuss how the war on cops is hurting all of us. And Mayor de Blasio, you have created this hostile environment, and you need to change. The white shirts don't care. They need change. They need to help their officers. They are not at war with their officers. They should be there to help them at all times, and they are not. And that's truly heartbreaking. It's not hard enough, the job. It's not hard enough what you have to deal with the public and what you see, things that are unspeakable. And then the chiefs are yelling at you because you didn't meet quotas. You're asking for a day off because you just can't do it anymore. And yet you can't get one because they're angry with you? What do you expect them to do? Of course they're falling apart. I'm just going to read parts of a letter that I received from someone. As you can see, it's not in my handwriting, so it's a letter from someone. I understand your frustration and sadness and anger. Your stance against NYPD is bringing to light a mental health risk that's been neglected and needs to be addressed. My husband killed himself, and he was afraid to go reach out for help because of the repercussions. Finally, when someone in his department would listen to me, it was too late. To explain to my 2 young sons how their father died was the hardest thing. Their reactions still haunt me to this day. My husband was strong in his Catholic faith, loved his family, was a good person, but police life changed him, as I'm sure it's changed many officers with what they have to deal with. I promised I would leave her anonymous, and I will. I promised I would leave the officer anonymous who in 2012 went to his supervisor and said, I believe Robert Echeverria is suffering. I believe he's having trouble, and he needs help. At which point, this officer, who is currently on duty, was told, unless he self-surrenders, mind your business. Shortly thereafter, my brother was transferred. As you all know, I've gone to IAB. I've driven to one police plaza over the years. I've tried everything within my power to raise awareness of how our men in blue are being treated every day. Mayor de Blasio, I ask you resign. You cannot run this city, let alone a country. I will not get into the politics of this, but I'd like to thank Blue Lives Matter for their support to me. I'd like to thank all of you, and I ask that everyone, if you are struggling, whether you're an NYPD officer or not, that you reach out for help. I have made my Facebook profile public. If anybody needs anything, if anybody has anything to add to this, please continue to email me, private message me, however you must do it. I will not go away. I have had to hire my own private investigator to look into some certain things that have happened with the NYPD. I'm sure that will be blocked. And I'm sure top brass, the white shirts, don't want to hear from me again. Regardless, I'm here to tell you, I am not going away. And for all the officers and their wives who reached me, I made a promise to you that I will fight on, and I will keep my promise. I thank you all for coming.
What was the discussions this morning?
The discussions this morning were about how they were going to they're instituting new programs, new clinicians, new peer support, new mental health evaluations, and they're trying to institute those. Well, it's a little too late, but I hope they do it. But in the meantime, they just cut all their benefits. The PBA president, Pat Lynch, told me. Mayor de Blasio can go on TV all day long and say, here's a phone number you can call. They're not going to call it for fear of retribution. They're not going to call it. And my discussion with them was brief, as I had wanted it to go better. I hope that we can be a united front. I still hold out hope for that. And I will fight on.
What's your, the department claims that PAPA and some of the other programs are confidential and that they won't affect the cop's career, but the stigma remains, right? The stigma remains. And
yes,
so
excuse me for laughing at such a horrible time, but they were reached out to PAPA, and it was told. The officer told me. The officer who reached out for my brother even went to PAPA's, and guess what? He didn't get any more overtime for a little while. And that I know. Now they keep telling me, well, we can't corroborate your story. Of course you can't. I have the emails. I have the texts. I've deleted their names on my text messages. But, One Police Plaza, upper brass, the white shirts, they're going to try and cover up and sweep this away. And like I said earlier, this is last week's news for everyone. But for the hundreds of officers struggling, thousands, for the hundreds of widows, sisters, and mothers who had to bury their children, this is our reality. You can't sweep that under the rug. You can't unbreak my mother's heart. You can't unbreak his children's heart, and you can't unbreak mine.
So in essence, they were trying to placate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did they give you details on this development plan they have?
The only thing they said is they're instituting new programs, clinicians, and peer support. Well, that should have been instituted a while ago. After the first one, not after the 9th one this year. But of course, we all know that there were hundreds more before that.
Earlier you said that you wish that it went better today. What would you hope to happen?
I would have liked for them to come out here with me and discuss this. I would like them to come out and tell me what they are still investigating all of my emails to IAB. They're still investigating all the people that have come to them in the past that they've, not done anything for. So while it's an active investigation, they can't speak to me. Well, how long is this going to be an active investigation? Because you gave him his guns back in 2 days. So that was a quick investigation.
Earlier you said the meeting got really heated. Can you talk a little bit about that?
When I mentioned some programs and when I mentioned what other officers had told me, they, I would say, tried to shut me down. And I went back. But I have to, I have to keep them close enough to me that they will allow me to go in there and talk about the programs I'd like to institute, the programs that other officers have sent me that they'd like to institute. I am so sickened by this. I actually did my own interviews. I went out in the streets and spoke to cops who, obviously, I promised them I would not reveal their shield, their badge number, their name. When I told them about the stories of how, captains and the white brass treat them and speak to them and the sexual locker room disgusting talk, 100% of them had said to me, absolutely, please, I'm begging you, don't use my name. And I will honor that. At some point, when a few of them are close to retirement, they will come out with me. They're just waiting to retire, some of them. And some of them are brand new on the force and already have experienced this. It is a broken system. Top brass is not backing NYPD. They need help. And I believe it starts with the mayor and the commissioner, who, once again, Commissioner O'Neill, I plead with you, please contact me. I'm begging you.
Did try to contact him, but
several times, and I've gotten no response. I won't get a response from him. As I have said in previous interviews, the blood is on their hands, not just of my brother, but on several officers. And I will fight for change. That's all I'm here for.
You've spoken with relatives of other cops who committed suicide this year?
Some this year, a couple last year. I spoke to one from years ago who actually went to internal affairs and the wife of this officer, and it turned out, this was back in 2000, or I believe 1998, they warned IAB about her husband. Her husband shortly thereafter murdered her 7-year-old son, 4-year-old niece, and then killed himself. So this is going back.
And I was going to ask you, did those relatives say that they had also had problems reporting depression or
Yes.
anxiety of their
Officer, I've had officers,
loved
yes,
ones?
I've had officers tell me that their wives are you just don't know what to do with them when they come home.
No, what I'm asking is, did they also report concerns to the department?
Yes.
Like in your case?
Not all of them, but I would say, out of all of them, I would say half a dozen did, yes. I thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Please, if anybody is struggling, please reach out, talk to someone. Get the help you need. And know that I am fighting for every NYPD officer out there. Blue lives do matter. All lives matter. Thank you.